Welcome back. All right, we're going to talk about the San Jose Sharks today as I continue my look at teams at the quarter century mark, so 2000, 2001 through 2023, 2024, used for here. And the power rankings that I did for the regular season as well as for the postseason. In both cases, San Jose was 13th. So from 2000, 2001 through 2023, 2024, 13th on both lists. They reached the Stanley Cup final in 2016. Stanley Cup final I don't really forget because that was the first one when the channel started growing. And it was a fun final between themselves and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh ends up winning that one there. Conference finals, they have made their share of conference finals. 2004, 2010, 2011, and 2019. Now, since that 2019 Stanley Cup, conference final appearance, they're now going on to year 6 in a row of missing the Stanley Cup playoffs. So it's been a bit more of a struggle for them in recent years than it was prior. The San Jose Sharks, of course, a team that has not won the Stanley Cup, so I don't have a Stanley Cup win to discuss with them there. For a grade, I gave them a C+, because in my opinion, they haven't won that Stanley Cup. They have the one Stanley Cup final appearance. Now they're in a rebuild. It took a while for them to admit that they needed to do a rebuild. So I figured I'll give them a C+. So no D's for anybody. No, nothing like that. I think C's probably as low as I'm going to go when I'm doing this series. Anyways, their leading scorer from 2000-2001 through 2023-2024 is Joe Thornton. 1,104 games played. That's a lot. 251 goals, 804 assists, which is also a lot. 1,055 points. Patrick Marleau, 1,371 games played. Also a lot. 471 goals, 523 assists, 994 points for Marleau in that time period. Joe Pavelski, 963 games played, 355 goals, 406 assists for 761 points. Logan Couture, 933 games played, 323 goals, 378 assists for 701 points. Brent Burns, 798 games played, 172 goals, 422 assists, 594 points. Tomas Hertl, 712 games played, 218 goals scored, 266 goals against for 484 points. Marc-Edouard Vlasic, 1,296 games played, 83 goals, 293 assists for 376 points. Those totals are excellent. Timo Meier, 451 games played, 154 goals, 162 assists for 316 points. Jonathan Cheechoo, 440 games played with the Sharks for Jonathan, 165 goals, 126 assists, 291 points. And Ryan Clough closes things out, 423 games played, 101 goals, 170 assists for 271 points. So it's an interesting top 10. It's nice to see Cheechoo on the list. And, of course, a lot of players who have since been traded. Thornton would get traded. Marleau would get traded. Pavelski ends up moving on to Dallas. Couture's still there. Injured, but still there. Brent Burns, of course, ends up being traded. Hurdle's gone via trade. It is a long list. Meyer exits via trade as well. So a lot of active players that are no longer with the San Jose Sharks. Now, in terms of goaltenders, Nabokov is the leader in wins. No surprise there. A record of 291, 176, and 28. A .912 save percentage. Martin Jones, a record of 170, 121, and 27 for a .907 save percentage. Niemi, a record of 163, 92, and 35. A .917 save percentage. Niemi was seen as a mediocre goaltender at points throughout his career, but he was very good for San Jose. And Vesi Toskala, 65, 28, and 10 record, .914 save percentage. So interesting goaltenders on the list. And then we get into the coaching side of things. Daryl Sutter. Daryl Sutter's been, through a few different teams. Ron Wilson as well, same thing. Todd McClellan. So he's made his way around the Pacific. Now, of course, he's the coach of the Detroit Red Wings. McClellan does definitely provide a really solid bump for teams when he arrives there. Pete DeBoer ends up, did he start here or did he start in New Jersey? Either way, Pete DeBoer, coach here. Bob Bugner, who had also been a coach, I believe, for Florida. David Quinn, who I was surprised when he was let go. And then the current coach of the team, Ryan Warsofsky. Warsofsky's a young coach. You can tell he's trying to think outside the box when it comes to things with the Sharks and plans going forward with who's playing on what line, all that stuff. And I like Warsawski, so I do think that he's going to be given a chance to really grow as a coach as the team is growing towards playoff contention. At least that's going to be the hope. General managers, it's a short list of general managers with the San Jose Sharks since 2000. You have Dean Lombardi, who was there for quite some time, moves on to LA. Doug Wilson, who was there for a very long time as well. And now you have Mike Grier, who has I think, a pretty good grasp on how to do this rebuild. I've seen him. I know the Timo Meier trade initially, people were panning that trade. I think it's worked out pretty well for both teams. And so, yeah, Grier has done, I think, a pretty bang up job there. When you get into the captains, some interesting names with captain. You start with Owen Nolan. And then you had a season where they split it between three different players to start the first half of the season. So Mike Ricci was captain for 10 games. Vinny Domfus was captain for the next 20. And then the following 10, Alan McCauley was the captain of the team. So rotating captains tried there. They're not the only team to have tried that, but that's an interesting way of doing it. Then Patrick Marleau is the captain. Of course, Marleau was there forever, so it's not a surprise that Marleau was captain. Rob Blake was captain, so Blake's been captain for multiple California teams. I wonder if he's the only one that's done that. And then Joe Thornton. Joe Thornton, of course, captain of the team for a long time. The one thing with Thornton and Marleau and just that entire era is that they were a very good team, excellent in the regular season, went to the conference finals and a Stanley Cup final. There was a lot of success, but without that Stanley Cup ring, there will be that debate forever about whether or not that San Jose run was the best team that never won the Stanley Cup. That's a video I've been wanting to do for ages. I just haven't got that done. But it is definitely a point to bring up when it comes to the San Jose Sharks. That they had a great team, great regular season team that had some good runs in the playoffs, just not a Stanley Cup win. And people have put that on Thornton's doorstep as well as Marleau's over the years. And that's something that will definitely be talked about for a long time. Joe Pavelski then became captain, so you go from one Joe to another. And then the current captain, Logan Couture. I think the plan's going to be that Ryan Celebrini. Sure, we'll just make one up. I think the plan's going to be to get Macklin Celebrini to the point where he can be captain. Tyler Toffoli does have years left on his contract. You could always name him captain at some point in time in the event that Logan Couture, who has struggled with injuries, if he were in a situation where he either ends up getting traded or ends up retiring, and retirement happens for all players, I think Celebrini is going to be the next one. The San Jose Sharks, I think, are doing a pretty good job of the rebuild. Of course, the real test is when you come out of the rebuild and we see what it's like on the other side of things. But for now, San Jose's still in that rebuild. There's going to be a lot of losing going on from now going forward, especially with the Granlund trade that really just, pulls that top line apart. I'm still mildly surprised that they did that because Granlund, that Lund line I thought was good enough that they probably keep it together for a while. But hey, Mike Grier knows what he's doing. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the San Jose Sharks and this quarter century. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support as always. I will talk to you again soon.